afternoon.
Hello.
And welcome to our latest installment of All Mixed Up. Today we are going to talk about designing and why size matters. It's something that every brand needs to think about, that with all the different devices that your customers are using, you need to make sure that the experience is optimized across all different sizes, right? Mm-hmm. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started.
Basically where this idea came from is that I just basically came across the stat that just this past year, we exceeded 70%, so it's 71% of all online usage is actually being done on mobile devices now.
Okay, how about that?
And what that made me think and need to share with our clients, because I'm going to show my age a little bit here. I come from a time when print was king. Before the digital marketing, I got to evolve with it. Mm-hmm. And part of the problem with that is clients, ourselves, designers, we've gotten used to thinking about desktop. And we've gotten used to thinking about static images. Here's a pretty image, it's approved, we turn it into a website, and that's what we think about. Right. But what we're realizing now is that if we want to reach our audience, and our audience is on mobile, we can't just think about that one size of a desktop anymore. You now have to think about what it's like on a phone, on a tablet, not just one phone, an iPhone versus an Android versus a desktop.
Learn that the hard way, huh?
Two monitors, that's a lot of people. And so really, that's really the point, is that what I wanted to kind of convey to everybody watching now is user experience has become so much more important. It's no longer about what's going to happen when they go to my website on a desktop. We have to think from square one that we're designing for at least 3 different devices, and how the user experience needs to be consistent amongst all 3.
So I think that brands that get it right really well, and brands that get it wrong really bad, right? So ask yourself this question: have you ever gone to a website while shopping for something on your phone, started the checkout process only to get frustrated and say, oh, I'll do this later when I have my laptop? Mm-hmm. I can count, more fingers than I have available. I can count the times that I've done that. And it just goes to show you that there has to be a unique experience for the mobile and for the tablet that's not the same as the desktop, right? Or else you're going to lose customers, because what if I didn't go back to the laptop to complete that purchase?
Right.
They lose out on money. I was ready to buy right then. They had my attention. I was going through, ready to do my PayPal, all that, but it's too much information, or I had to shrink and move things around, and it was annoying me, and I said, all right, I'll do this later.
Yeah, absolutely, and I like numbers, I like statistics. And the proof to that is that from mobile devices, the average user will only spend 3 seconds on a mobile device, committing to whether they stay on that site or not, okay? As opposed to almost 10 seconds on a desktop version, which means that we need to make sure that our mobile devices and our iPads and our touch screens and our scrolling accommodates that people are much pickier on mobile. So we actually, instead of start thinking screen first, if we had to think of something first, we need to tell our clients, the people out there, and even us as a team, we always think, desktop first a lot of the time, is no, we're training ourselves now, kind of start thinking mobile first. We have more people on mobile. And even e-commerce now on mobile finally surpassed 50%. So I think it's 51% of all online sales are being done on mobile devices. So everything, we really need to start thinking more mobile first, because that's where people are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you touched on something before too, and you were saying that when you have a desktop website built and then it goes into mobile, it kind of just shrinks it and kind of does whatever it wants to do. And we were talking about how sometimes you want to have it simplified, because the last thing people want to do on mobile is just scroll. So, it's when you go there, you have to have that desired action right up front. I know in social media, you go to the Facebook on mobile, and right there it's message, like this page. The point of social is to get social, so that's why that's there. So.
And I think that we've done a great job of incorporating that in our process when we build the websites. And what the developers, what Alex and team will say is that when they create the mobile they optimize the mobile version. I wouldn't say they create a mobile version, but they optimize the mobile experience. And what we do is we end up taking out some content, repositioning it, reimagining how it looks. So let's say we have something that displays content on the desktop and it's like 4 wide. So on the mobile, we'll shrink it down so it's 2 by 2. Because you're scrolling down, it makes more sense that way. You could do it 1, 2, 3, 4 in a single column, but then that takes up more space. It looks a little weird. You can, as long as it's large enough where you can read the text, you can do the 2 by 2, right? I think that a great example, if you want to look at one in the real world, is Zappos. Zappos' mobile app is exceptional. Kohl's has a good one too. I like Kohl's. I mean, they've really thought about the user experience, and what we normally see, what I've seen, is that things are larger, so you don't have to even think about scrolling in. They have a great knack for putting a significant amount of information on a single screen without scrolling. So kind of above the fold. That's another concept that we've talked about that's kind of changing. But for these purposes, for this conversation, when I see these really good and optimized layouts for mobile apps, that's what I see. I see larger buttons, I see larger text, and it's just set up in a way that it's easily read. You know what they want you to do, and it's easy for you to get it done.
Yeah, like what you were saying about how you change it visually from desktop to mobile. You change the way certain buttons appear, and it's laid out differently. But we were talking about, yesterday we were working on some social media headers, and the thing with social is that maybe it's going to look one way on desktop, but it can get totally messed up on mobile. So if you don't know the specs and you're not working with a designer, it can be really frustrating.
Yeah. just so the viewers know out there, we're updating our branding, and in the spirit of what we say and what we preach, it's consistent across everything that we do. So we've been updating our Word documents, our PowerPoint template, and all of our social media headers to incorporate the logo. So you'll see the big splash. Take a look at the top of the Facebook page when you get an opportunity at our cover image and tell us what you think. Leave us a comment.
Yeah, but it was so funny because LinkedIn just updated their header and it went from this big to that big. And if you stretch it out, your text kind of moves behind it if you have some text in the header, and then you pull it all the way in, and then it goes, I'm just going to do this. It kind of just does whatever it wants to do. So we were going back and forth like, no, Chris, we have to look at this again. This isn't working. And it can be a really hassling process, but getting it right is just so important. I mean, the last thing you want to do is have it look great on desktop, and then you go to mobile where, what was the statistic? It was like...
It's 71%.
71% of online traffic is from mobile. So if they're going to the mobile site and they're seeing text get cut off and just, it looks like crap, then it's just, they're going to go away and be like, these guys don't know what they're doing.
That's a really good transition into something I wanted to touch on this, because some of the people watching out there are probably going, well, that's what responsive is now. Some people know what responsive web design is now. And very simply, what responsive web design is, you build for one platform, and then through the back-end software, it automatically resizes and rearranges everything, right? Mm-hmm. And responsive is definitely the way to go. But what's important is that I would like to just point out, and you can help me with this, Mark, that the trend for responsive is not just about ease of designing one site and it fits for all, because the responsive stuff has its snag, right? But the industry is supporting responsive design. Mm-hmm. So it's important for clients to start thinking along those lines, not just because of ease of use, but because now it's become really crucial. Maybe you can talk on this more about SEO and analytics as well. And really, so that's really talking about your bottom line again, and not just your look or your feel or your brand or your design. Responsive design is now affecting your business.
Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, bring it into the way that we look at our campaigns in a cross-channel, omni-channel perspective. Having a website that's responsive is going to play into the SEO effectiveness of it. Google's going to look at the mobile friendliness of your site. Does it render properly on a phone and on a tablet, but mostly phone? So does it render properly on a phone? Does it load quickly? Is it easy to navigate? Does it make sense? And Google will actually rate and rank the sites based on that information. So you can run it through a tool that Google provides you, and you can get a score of how well you've done. And it will look at those different factors and spit back your score, tell you what the problem areas are. So if your site fails that scoring, then you need to fix it, right? And just because the website shifts down to tablet and down to phone doesn't mean that the experience is going to shift in a positive way. It may just scrunch it up. And like I was giving the example of how you display the information, it's going to just scrunch it to a point where it's just putting it into one column. But that may give you way too much content. It can look awkward. You've got to then take another step to optimize that and change the layout so it's really set up for the phone.
Yeah, I was actually going to add to that just now because in Google Analytics you can differentiate between desktop access versus mobile users. So I think a really great way to kind of evaluate your design is to actually see how engaged they are when they're on the website. See time spent on site, how's your bounce rate. That kind of gives you an insight to maybe we want to tweak this, maybe we want to run an A/B test between two pages. And it's just, it's always about testing, but if you're seeing people are going to a page and then going off right away, it really tells you where you have the opportunity or, if it's even worth investing.
So to add to that, we are really big in the analytics side of things on creating dashboards. And dashboard creation is a little bit of an art form, a lot of analytics, but you want to create dashboards that are useful. You don't want to just throw metrics into a dashboard and then create this unusable space of information that no one knows what the heck to do with, right? So the way that we think about creating dashboards is to answer specific questions. So we can have one dashboard that's like an executive overview. It's got very high level, how much traffic, how much revenue, where's it coming from in the world, where's it coming from marketing channel wise. Then we can get into, okay, let's do an e-commerce dashboard for an e-commerce company. Now it's what products are being sold, what product category is being sold the most, what's the average order value, what's the revenue, blah, blah, blah. All those different metrics that are associated with e-commerce. But to answer your question, we can look at something called site health. So now you create a site health dashboard. It's like, what is the load time? How does that load time differ from mobile and desktop? And what is the user engagement? How much time do they spend? How many pages they visit of desktop versus mobile? So now you can quickly see in your dashboard, well, here's the desktop experience and here's the mobile experience. Is there a problem? What's the difference? And is there a problem? Is it something I need to take a closer look at? So if you have these things created in an easy to use, easy to view dashboard that you can easily, you can look at frequently and see these trends as they change, then you can make better decisions faster. Yeah. And that's what analytics is all about, is making smarter decisions.
Yeah, and what's really cool is when you're doing the analytics side, then you work with a designer, so Chris, creative. User experience is so important. When you're looking at user experience, and this really isn't our forte, this is the design side of it, you have to know how people read and interpret information on the website. So when you're putting in the work into a homepage, user experience kind of is like a cheat sheet. It's kind of the architecture. So it'd be pretty cool if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to use that to transition into something that I wanted to touch on. User experience is the key across all platforms. That's what we want. We want whatever our customer or client is going to the site to do what we want them to do. It's really, really that simple. So what I get a lot of, and I hear a lot of nowadays with responsive design, and as it's catching on, there's a lot of plug and play and drag and drop website design places out there, and they sell themselves as being responsive design. But the important thing is people are like, oh, I can go build my own website at home on my desktop, and then when I look at it on my phone, it kind of looks the same. It's automatically moving things around. However, although it sort of looks the same, if you don't have that true responsive where you can run analytics if you're controlling the exact placement of everything, the order that things go with, if it accidentally puts the form above the call to action because you have no control of how it's rearranging for the smaller screen, well, you've lost your user experience. And that's where it comes into play, and I hate to sell us a little too hard, is that it takes a team to do a responsive site really well, because you want full control. You want to be able to look at those analytics and say, hey, we have a better click-through rate on mobile, more people are going to mobile, so let's adjust our experience to be more targeted towards the mobile users. If you're just doing it yourself in a click and drop, you don't have really the efficiency to SEO, you don't have the trial and error that you would get from analytics and the A/B testing, as we call it, and you don't have full control. And those three things are really, really crucial to the overall experience of the site.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't look good, it's really going to hurt you, in short. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be such a headache. I mean, we've had plenty of headaches working with some things.
No, it's a headache when you do know what you're doing.
And it's fun. It's fun to have headaches.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably no secret that, on my own, I've built websites and I've built responsive websites. And when you do it on your own, there is a headache, because what I've learned is it really does take a team, because if I have too much copy on my desktop version and then I switch over to mobile and now I need to edit copy, well, I don't have a copywriter. I need a copywriter, If my images aren't scaling right from desktop to mobile, and I need to know what the different specs and scales are between the two, I need to talk to my developer. If something's not working right in a thing, I need to know from Mark in analytics, like, we're not getting the click-through rate on the desktop that we are getting on the mobile site. And it really takes a team to try to do it all yourself, the trial and error. Now, this is getting covered by this image. My copy just got cut off. This isn't scaling right. This person's top of his head got cut off in the image when it's scaled. No matter how good you are, it can be really frustrating when you try to do it all by yourself.
Yeah, and it's even beyond a website. It's when we're doing social media posts, there's that 2-to-1 ratio on a lot of those networks. And if you're working with this long vertical portrait image, you're going to get the heads cut off. We were talking about that before. But you see these brands, they share things, and it's like a group of people, these big smiles, but you don't see them because you just see the top of this. So yeah, if it doesn't look polished, it's really it's a bad thing. Doesn't look good.
So I think to your point about it takes a team, you're thinking, all right, so you've got a web developer who's doing the nuts and bolts of the site. You've got a designer who's looking at both the visual and the user experience. You've got a copywriter that's creating content. You've got an SEO expert, may or may not be the same, but usually they're different people. And then what else? I think those are pretty much the 4 essentials that you would need.
Right.
But not 1, but 4, right? You can't expect that one person can handle it all, and someone who can competently develop a website may not be a good designer. They may not have any user experience knowledge. They may not be able to do SEO, and they may not be a writer. Typically, those skills are not interchangeable. You'll get some overlap sometimes, but you'll usually need isolated individuals. So, if you're a company out there and you're a 1 or 2 person show, what are you doing? You need help, and it makes sense to work with a team that not only can get the job done, but works well together and really can look at it from that holistic standpoint to make sure you're getting the best outcome possible.
Yeah, say Chris takes a look at a mobile site and he goes, this really isn't best practice, this shouldn't be here or there. If you don't have someone on the team who knows how to change those things and you're working within a template, which we see a lot, and it's kind of, you're very limited because you think, okay, you read responsive in your template and then you actually see it and you don't know how to change things around. So if you have someone on the team who knows user experience and they know how things should look and feel and where these certain buttons should live, if you have someone who's a developer and they can move those things around, it makes it so much easier. It's a matter of jumping on the phone or walking over to their desk and saying, let's do this, let's do that. Otherwise it's a headache. I'm not a developer. I've been there. I've been there.
Unfortunately, we see it a lot of time with the smaller clients that we work with, where they use a template to build their website, and so it has this kind of stocky look. It's very non-customized, for lack of a better phrase, but you can kind of tell that it's something they built on their own. The copy is something they threw together without any thought or any concern for SEO. Luckily, the template came with a responsive design, and so it looks decent on mobile, but it's not optimized. And so they get hurt because people come to their site, they look at it, and they get that first impression that it's not very professional, that it's something, you know, that was made by themselves or their family member or someone else. You know, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but this is what people have done, right? People have said, like, oh, my daughter's really great at web design, and so she put this together. She's a high school student with no experience, and I've seen this before. So it is important to understand that there are best practices out there, but when it comes to your business, that first impression is extremely important, and making sure that you're putting your best foot forward is always a good route to take. But any final thoughts on design and size, since that's the topic of today's All Mixed Up?
I really think what it comes down to is most people out there know. They go to your desktop, then look on your phone, and really what it comes down to is first impressions. Are you getting the same first impression across all devices? But the other thing that it really comes down to that we need to remember is important is consistency. Okay, and that's really where a team will come into play to make sure that you're consistently walking your potential customer or user through the process that you want them to walk through. And in order to gain consistency, you really do need full control of where things go, what goes where, being able to look at the details. And creating, so when I go to a desktop version and I like it, I want to go to the mobile version and I want it to become second nature because I'm already familiar with the desktop. It should have the same exact user experience. I should be so familiar with it even if I've never been on it before. And that's very, very hard for the average person to really to look at objectively. Like, is that the way it's working? And so I would say to anybody out there, like, really take a good, honest, objective look at your website, then look at it on the phone and say, are these consistent? Are these the same? Are they making the same first impression? And if they're not, you know, reevaluate, either try to do a little research on your own, or what's even easier is contact a group of pros like us. It works. Like, it makes life a lot easier.
We're pretty awesome.
Yeah, always contact us. All right. Any final thoughts from you, or should we just wrap up?
I'm good. I mean, yeah, just keep everything looking good. Keep working with a team. Get it right. And
I don't have anything else to add.
No, we're just
so
web design. Make it look good. Make it pretty.
Make it look good. Make it look pretty. And size does matter.
Oh,
right?
God.
So thank you for watching our latest installment of All Mixed Up. We hope you found this useful. If you did, please hit the like button. More importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more videos and notifications when these come out. Leave a comment on the Facebook Live if you're watching us on Facebook Live so that we can answer any questions. Maybe you have a specific question about design and size that we can help you with. We'd be more than happy to answer that question. Check us out and connect with us on our other social media channels. We have a LinkedIn page. We have a Twitter profile. We're on Instagram. So come find us. We're out there. We've got tons of information about marketing. And I think that's about it. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
Yeah.